This is a sumac. It obviously isn't poison sumac. I wouldn't be grabbing it like this. How did I know it wasn't poison sumac? Well, one way to tell is if you look at the leaves, this whole thing is a leaf. It's a compound leaf, and these are leaflets. And you see how long and pointy these are, and they have teeth on them? The poison sumac leaflets are more egg-shaped, and they're shorter, and they don't have teeth. Okay, so as long as you see a sumac with leaves like that, you know it's not the poison sumac. And any sumac with those tight, upright clusters of red berries, does this sound familiar to people? Like maybe you've seen it before? So imagine this being a little bit smaller and a little bit tighter in cluster and red. Okay, that's the female sumac berries. This is actually a male sumac right here. So this is just male flowers producing pollen. There's not going to be any fruit on this tree. Sumacs come in male and female. So it could be as we're walking around later today, we see female sumac, and then we can look at the berries. But not knowing for sure I'm going to see a female sumac, I'm just going to use this as my prop to describe it. All right, so let's pretend this is a female sumac, and all these things, instead of male flowers, it's female flowers, and then they eventually turn to the berries, and it's going to be berries in mid-August. And the berries will be about this size and shape, and they'll be distributed on the plant about the same way that these male flowers are. So the typical sumac bush will have a couple dozen of these berry clusters on there. The first thing you need to do is figure out, is that berry cluster ripe? Is it going to be good tasting? So what I'll do is lick my finger and then just rub it on the berry cluster or jam it in there a little bit, and then lick my finger again. And if I get a nice pleasing acid flavor, then I know that berry cluster is good to use. And if that one was good to use, all the other berry clusters on the plant will be the same flavor, degree of ripeness, and so on. So you just snap them off, which is very easy. You don't need a knife. You can do it just with your hands. And gather up a bunch of the berry clusters. And I'm gathering about a dozen berry clusters for every gallon of water that I want to flavor. All right? So you have your water in some kind of a container. It can be a bucket or a pot or anything like that. The water should be lukewarm or colder. You don't want it to be hot. You don't want to boil it because it's going to make your drink too bitter. You're going to make a drink from the berries. And so this is all you do. It's very simple. This process is explained in my book, is that you just put the berry clusters in the water and pull them apart in the water just because you're trying to get the flavor off the berries into the water. And the water will turn this pinkish orange color. So do that for several minutes and then fish out the berries, compost them, you're done with them. And then you take this liquid and you put it through any kind of a filter, like a paper towel or a cheesecloth or even a clean t-shirt if that's all you have on hand, and it will intercept any remaining berries, anything else that's in the liquid. And then you take this liquid and you can drink it hot or cold, sweetened or unsweetened. It's good all those ways. And the flavor is like an iced tea flavored lemonade because there's 3 different acids responsible for the flavor. There's ascorbic acid, otherwise known as vitamin C. There's malic acid, which is the same acid that makes apples tart. And then there's a little tannic acid, which is the flavoring ingredient of tea. Okay, so you can go from picking the berries off the plant to drinking the drink in about 15 minutes. That's it. All right? It's a sumac plant. It obviously isn't poison sumac, or I wouldn't be grabbing it like this. How did I know it's not poison sumac? Poison sumac has drooping clusters of greenish-white berries. And so any sumac with these tight, upright clusters of reddish berries, it's not only not poison sumac, it's an edible sumac. This particular variety here is called staghorn sumac because the twigs are furry like young deer antler velvet. And the major way that these are edible, it's the ripe fruit. It's actually an acid on the ripe fruit that you make a drink from. And the fruit is ripe usually midsummer onward, but as the growing season goes on, the berries get older and the storms gradually wash the flavor out. I'm going to guess that the rain we just had has washed all the flavor out. But let's turn the clock back a couple weeks. We have fresher berries. So how do you figure out if they're going to be yummy? What I do is lick my finger and then just rub it on the berry cluster and then lick it. And if I get a strong pleasing acid flavor, and I actually did still get one from this cluster. So if you want to try it, catch. All right. You want to try again? Okay, I'll say what you do with it, don't worry. Okay, want to try again? Try again. All right, sign her up. Okay, so anyway, So just on the red part, so not the grungy other part, but in the red part, lick your finger and rub it in there, and then taste your finger. You're getting an acid flavor? Yeah. Okay, so these berries aren't going to make as yummy a drink as if we had found them 3 or 4 weeks ago, but it would still work if you wanted to try it. And so this process is described in my book, but basically what you do is I'm gathering about a dozen of these berry clusters for every gallon of water that I want to flavor, and you just put the clusters in a bucket of water, pull them apart for a few minutes, and you're getting the flavor off the berries into the water. The water will turn this pinkish orange color. And then fish the berries out, compost them, you're done with them. And then take the liquid and put it through any kind of a filter, like a paper towel or a cheesecloth or even a clean t-shirt if that's all you've got on hand. And that will strain out any other remaining stuff that was in the liquid. And then whatever goes through you can drink. It tastes good, hot or cold, sweetened or unsweetened, and it tastes like iced tea flavored lemonade because there's 3 different acids responsible for the flavor. There's ascorbic acid, otherwise known as vitamin C. There's malic acid, which is the same acid that makes apples tart. And then there's some tannic acid, which is the flavored ingredient in tea. So the water should be lukewarm or cold, not hot or boiling, because that will make it too bitter. That will bring out too much tannic acid. So the time it takes to picking the sumac berry clusters off the plant to drinking the drink is only about 15 minutes. All right?
You just soak it for like 10 minutes?
You pull the berry clusters apart in the water for just a few minutes.
I see.
That's it. You don't have to soak them. All right, so one other thing about sumacs is that if you ever run out of the metal spiles that you buy at the hardware store to tap the trees, like we've been talking about the maples and the birches and stuff, you can use hollowed out sumac stems for that purpose. Okay, so what you want to do is find a nice straight piece of sumac that's about the right diameter. So right here would be good. About 5/8 of an inch in diameter is good. And you cut this into 3-inch lengths. And then this is soft yellowish pith in the center, which you can poke out with a coat hanger. And you end up with a hollow tube that you can tap into the hole you've drilled into the tree, and the sap will flow right out through that hollow tube. And you can even cut a notch into it.